Oh, they needed that roll.
All right, I'm pretty sure we're live, and
I think it's live. I think it's live.
I'm pretty sure we're live, and our streamer didn't tell us. So, hello, and welcome back to 3WC, where we've got semis weekend China Australia with myself, T1G, Mavs, and Vordi. Hi, Mavs and Vordi. What's up, gamers?
Hello. What's going on?
Keen for this one. I think this might be, with the situation Australia has, potentially a bit scuffed, but we'll have to see. Hopefully they have a surprise performance in them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you look at the match last week, it looks like Australia is really good, right? The 6-1 win over Russia, who on paper had a pretty good roster, but you kind of dig into those maps a little bit, and it looks a little more sus. Meanwhile, China had a really close match with South Korea, which they ran out of picks, and that's basically why they lost. When worst HR player activated, that kind of took China down on its own. So I think China looks a little stronger coming into this from last week. And tell us a little bit about what you know about Australia here and their quote unquote situation.
Yeah, I want to say too much because I think it's information China might not know, but we might have some missing players, and the missing players might be pretty important. So we'll see as the map unfolds. But yeah, Australia might not be in the best of shape today.
And you hate to see that, like, come semifinals week. Like, it's so sad when teams don't have their full roster, and like, or regardless of who's missing, like, it's almost always somebody important, especially when it's only like 6 player teams. Like, it's just gonna matter even if you're only missing one person. But
yeah, but getting to the bans, I think Australia coming out with the expected bans, banning out the 2 AR8 maps. Funnily enough, China did ban Hidden 3 on the first 2 rounds, which I think is normally not something you'd expect from them, but they were up against France and South Korea, who had the 2 best AR8 Hidden quality performances. So I think against those 2 teams, banning out the AR8 Hidden is completely fair, but Australia 8 not as strong on the AR8, so fair bans from them.
You know, in a similar vein, China banning Nomad 2, which Australia banned last week. So they're just taking each other's bans, I guess, from past rounds. I've heard it said that this Nomad 2 feels like a pretty massive increase in difficulty in multiple facets. So, if you're not fully comfortable with your stamina tapping roster, you might not want to try to deal with it. Australia, I feel like, I mean, they're like decent at tapping, right? I don't know if I call them like number 1, but they're definitely solid. So if China doesn't feel comfortable with it, it makes sense to get rid of it.
I want to just, it's a bit unfortunate, obviously, with the circumstances for Australia currently. But, on the plus side, on the bright side here, we've had some upswings from some of the newer players in the tournament scene. Obviously, we've got Sayo, huge performance last week against Russia. Like, he pulled in so many good scores for them, as well as Arbusion, who's been around for a while, but only recently dipped into OWC and 3WC, and he was looking awesome too. So definitely some really good players here. I think there's still a chance for Australia to take a few maps potentially, but a win here might be a tall order just against China.
Yeah, Sayo.
Yeah, 100%.
Sayo was top 10 overall in performance scores last week, like playing 6 out of their 7 maps. That he's definitely, I feel like, been a revelation, because I don't even know if everybody from Australia was familiar with the guy. Maybe you guys were, maybe you weren't. I certainly had never heard of him before this tournament, and he's been performing really, really well.
Yeah, he's honestly a surprise for the Australian scene. He came on the last ANZT, which is the Australia-New Zealand, regional tournament, and someone who really at that point hadn't played in any tourneys that I knew of, and just came in and played really, really well. I think he seeded 2nd in qualies and had a very good run, so I think he was a pretty big surprise, and even more of a surprise in 3WC, where he seems to have gotten even better, being like the carry for the first 2 weeks. Normally that's a slot you expect Dummy to fill, but yeah, he's been playing out of his mind recently.
We're gonna get into things here. First map has been selected, Hard Arc 3, excuse me, Yokakushi Ayakashi, which is kind of a flow aim, stream heavy precision pick. It does have a little bit of that, kind of precision aim that you expect, but Some very notable like spaced flow pattern requirements in this map as well. It's a scary spot to start. I don't like starting with 6.5. It's terrifying.
That is a scary one, but I think if you're the underdog, maybe you hope that the CS 6.5 surprise at the first map plays to your advantage. And I think this is a case of, Australia using what they have. They have Sayo, Vivace, Arbusion in. All of these players can play 6.5. However, saying that, China has been playing very, very well on the 6.5s. So this is a bit of a scary first pick from Australia.
And we've
just
got
looking at
rosters in as well. And it's going to be for the side of China, we're actually going to have a few Lolols in, just for clarification for any of the viewers. Lolo 235 is going to be David, and 233 is going to be Milk Tea alongside Crystal.
And I was just going to say, like, both these teams played Hard Rock 3 last week, and they finished with scores that were 10K apart. Australia won, if you compare their scores, by literally 10,000 points. So hoping to have another really close one here, as starting off a couple breaks early on from Sayo and from David, as well as Kevin. So it's like small lead China in the early goings.
Yeah, anything can really happen on a 6.5 as well, as evidently over the course of so many tournaments in these more prestigious high skill cap 20s. And we see actually level 235 and Crystal finding misses for the side of China. It's just the Seoul FC on Milk Tea there on the bottom right, but we're actually going to see a trade from Vivace in the start of this Ki. Sayo building up a good recovery combo alongside that FC from Arbusion, and that break is now going to favor Australia heavily, as Arbusion, he's going to start to pull this one away from us for Australia. There's only about a third of the map remaining.
Yeah, so it's so short. You get a triple break like that at the just past the halfway mark with an FC on the other side, and that could be El Shiro. Arbusion does break his FC, but Sayo still holding on through this spaced pattern. Really no combo to speak of on China. Ooh. Especially with more breaks. That probably just does it right there. If it wasn't already over, it is now.
And the two players that shined through for Australia last week against Russia, bringing them to that 6-2 victory, I think it was. Now, again, putting up huge scores. Arbusion, a huge effort into that first 2/3 of the map. Sayo bringing in a huge recovery, almost gets the reverse choke FC. He's going to fall barely short, but Australia easily going to take their first pick.
And how about that? Situation be damned. Australia says, we don't care about a situation. We've got Arbusion and Sayo. What more could you ask for? Vivace with a solid backing score as well. And that was just a clean performance compared to China's on the map. So, well, 1-0. Get a little momentum early on, even in a match where maybe you're missing somebody. You never know what could happen if you start off hot.
Yeah, fantastic start for Australia, and honestly, considering that performance on the Hard Rock 3, you might be looking for a Hard Rock 1 at some point in this match, because Hard Rock 1's also a very flow aim. Like, you normally expect a Hard Rock 1 to be aim focused with some streams in it, but Hard Rock 1 I would say is stream focused with some aim in it. It has some pretty spaced sections, so considering that performance, they might be looking to pick that. Obviously not 6.5, but still on the smaller end of the circle size. However, China picks Fremont 2, which is a very, very wonky rhythm map, big circles, but yeah, this is kind of all over the place. It's something that you would expect China to pick, being a very strong gimmick rhythm team.
Yeah, and this is, if you're at all comfortable with this map and you see your opponents banning out No Mod 5, this is just the map you would immediately want to jump on. It has that sort of, you have to play to the approach circles kind of dynamic going on in some of the rhythm-heavy sections. It can be very difficult to read and play along to the rhythms properly. So, makes sense if you're against a team who maybe doesn't feel comfortable with this sort of this sort of map, to go straight into it. So, it makes sense to see from China. I'm very curious what mods we see on this, because I have to think it's like personal preference, kind of. If you're super good at reading, you can play hidden on this, but otherwise you're probably going to be more interested in going hard rock. So we will find out. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, this is interesting for mods, because we've seen Australia and China both double hard rock in the past round, and that's what we're going to see. Yep, double hard rock on both teams. And I think the one thing you're going to notice going into this map is going to be the accuracy. Already very rhythm intensive with that OD10. Might see some accuracies on every player here.
It looks like just the one roster switch. We're going to have Kurumi 234 coming in to replace David 235 alongside Crystal and Milk Tea. Vivace, Sayo, Arbusion. Well, we might be seeing a lot of those 3 on the side of Australia. So for their sake, hoping for the best for them.
Yeah. And I mean, the double hard rocks coming in. I think this map kind of lends itself to that double hard rock, especially for 2 teams that, you know, in these regards, they look pretty strong on hard rock, especially Australia. They just, Sayo and Arbusion took the double hard rock on free mod last week as well, and they looked so damn good, like carried Australia through on the free mods. So not surprised to see it again here. So we are off to a little bit of a slow start on this map. Not too much to catch your players off. Some weird patterns here that can catch you off if you're not too practiced, but I think with that AR-10 on the hard rock, it's not going to be too particularly difficult to read. As we now get into a much more difficult section of the map here. Fast, high velocity sliders coming through, everyone holding, but Vivace and Milk Tea are going to find some breaks. 2 FCs to 2 now, and Arbusion finds another. It's now just Sayo for Australia up against the 2 FCs for China, and he has to hold on if they want any hope of breakpointing this one.
Yeah, this is all on Sayo's shoulders at this point because Kurumi and Crystal are looking very, very comfortable thus far. There's plenty of places in this map to break, and it's not going to be over till it's over. There goes Crystal. Sayo does trade it, though, so now it is just Kurumi with the one big combo, the lone remaining FC in the lobby, but nobody else over 100 combo, the other 5 players. So you can kind of tell this map really can take its toll on you over the course of its 20 seconds duration. But Kurumi is doing things to him that help China. It's about 150k lead.
Yeah, I think Kurumi is just going to run away with this one. You can see him kind of cheesing those slider ticks. He looks very well practiced on this map, and he's got that no mod, which is just that consistent advantage you want going into a map like this. Unfortunately, Arbusion unable to kind of compete with Kurumi's no mod performance so far, but he does find a miss. However, it is about 200k already, and we are approaching the final quarter of the map. There is some combo on Australia, but there goes Kevin. And now it's just Crystal against Sayo. Combos are pretty even, almost identical, actually. So I just don't think there's room for Australia to come back here unless we see Crystal drop pretty much now.
Yeah, this would require all of China to completely troll the ending, basically, while Australia completely hits it. And there's a break from Sayo going into that slider stream pattern and into the ending. I think we're going to see several breaks here, quite possibly, but I don't think it's going to matter at this point. That lead from China is more or less unassailable at 200k with just the last 2 seconds of the map remaining.
Very good accuracies from a lot of the hard rock players here, worth mentioning. Almost 95s from 3 of the hard rocks, which is pretty damn impressive on a map like this.
Yeah.
High slider velocity, weird rhythms, and some gimmicky patterns as well on top of that. Pretty damn impressive accuracy here. Very, very competent hard rock players in this lobby, as you can tell.
Yeah, definitely getting some good performances out of a lot of these players, but I feel like that Nomad score for Kurumi over Arbusion really made a lot of difference. It's an S rank, in fact, only slider breaks from him, and 150k gap between Kurumi and Arbusion is the 150k gap between China and Australia. And that because the other 2 players were dead even. If you look at the hard rock players, like look at those scores, they're practically identical for all across those 4 players. So it is actually coming down to the nomad, and Kurumi just
a combined difference of like 4k between the 4 hard rock players here. So yeah, it really was just that nomad difference, unfortunately for Arbusion. But I mean, you're up against Kurumi on a map like that. Just an insane player, and he pulls out the S rank as well. A couple S ranks on the board there. Very well done from China to take their first pick, but Australia not looking too far behind on it, even on a map where we really didn't favor them whatsoever, and now they've got potentially another hard rock to look into.
Yeah, if Australia can find some picks that are comfortable for the players that they have today, they might not be in too bad a spot. So the question is, do they go with another hard rock here, or is there somewhere else that they'd rather maybe venture to get their second pick on the board here?
Yeah, I think if there's anything they would pick other than hard rock right now, it's probably in that DT zone. They are missing, a pretty crucial DT player in the form of Dummy, but I think that with the roster they have, Sayo, all of these players can play DT, but they go for free mod 3, which is fair. That's actually leaning back into that 6.5 because most likely we're going to see a double hard rock or potentially even a triple hard rock on this, essentially making it another hard rock 3, and I expect to see China go a similar direction on this.
Yeah, this is, I think that really is the closest thing to a second hard rock 3 in the pool. It's a streamy type of map, and if you take Hard Rock on it, like you said, it's at 6.5 again. So it's another one where you've got to have that kind of precision flow aim going on. And we saw how much better China looked on that than, or Australia looked on it than China.
Yeah, another flow aim focused one. Funnily enough, a lot of small circle flow aim here. I have heard that this is pretty brutal with hidden. I'm not sure if anybody's going to take the plunge on hidden on a tournament like this where you can just go double Hard Rock.
Yeah, that is a very advantageous sort of free mod rule to teams that lean into one mod or the other, the way Australia does with Hard Rock here. So it's a triple Hard Rock. It's a triple Hard Rock.
Triple Hard Rock on the side of Australia. That's fair. I'm not sure if anybody available right now is super comfortable on that AR rate flow aim.
And one no mod, it's going to be on David, this time for China. Hard Rocks on Milk Tea and Crystal. As we get into it, Australia looking to put a second point on the board here with their second, I was going to say 6.5 pick, but technically speaking, it's not a 6.5 pick, except in execution, where it ends up being the small circles for everyone.
And taking the triple Hard Rock, yeah, I'm actually almost surprised that we didn't see a triple Hard Rock from Australia on the last map as well. Obviously, Vivace was on that no mod, and he's just such a comfortable Hard Rock player that it's surprising. But he does find a drop, speaking of being comfortable on the Hard Rock, and so does Sayo alongside him. And it's just Arbusion again. It's going to be the story of the 6.5, but there he goes. And now this is looking really good for China with how short this map is.
Yeah, this is dangerous territory already here for Australia. There is a break from Milk Tea, so it leaves a little bit of room as Crystal follows up next. So it's now down just to the no mod on David. This may be a little harder with Hard Rock than we thought.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got that player who's comfortable on the low AR, you 100% picking it on the low AR. Probably not going to be too much. As you can see, like some of these doubles into quads and stuff, and these triples into these pick sliders can be very difficult for someone who isn't comfortable at low AR to read it. But if you are comfortable, it's pretty free for the most part if you are practiced on it. So it's looking way too comfortable. The accuracy, the combo doesn't look concerned at all. And it's going to be, yeah, easily more than enough for China to take this one.
Yeah, this is like almost 1v3 territory here, depending on what happens with Australia in the ending, because this does stay relatively difficult. This is pretty scary. Okay, finally the break comes in from David. This ending is so difficult, man. These patterns are just ridiculous to aim, and you can see like just breaks left, right, and center across the board. The wiggles. Sayo actually
that ending was ridiculous. That ending was so ridiculous. The map went from being like, I know if you're good at AR8, this is pretty chill, and that ending is just like every single funny space stream, weird accelerating pattern you could think of, on top of weird snaps. That was very hard to hit with AR8. That ending, as you can see, well, 235 finding a lot of breaks, but yeah, I mean they win that one convincingly. It was not even close from Australia.
Yeah, that was just China exerting their will on the map and on Australia. Having somebody who can be very comfortable on the no mod on a map like that can be very useful, and we just saw that exact thing happen. Like David just helped kind of run away with the pick. And now it's China's pick with the break point up 2-1. So if they can consolidate here, this gets scary fast.
And they go for the DT4, which I think is arguably the hardest DT in the pool. It's kind of a gimmicky finger control reading DT. It's the kind of map where you don't just need tapping, you have to have the aim and the reading to play some of the funky doubles and patterns, which I think is in China's strong suit.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we saw them, like, kind of, we talked about, they went heavily into DT and speed picks last week against South Korea, and it worked out pretty well for them. They've got, you know, it's an interesting roster they've assembled with the Lolals and Crystal, and then their two, like, other players are kind of just speed and tapping fill, and it can work out for them if they get maps that they're super comfortable with. And here comes one of them now. Yeah, Jack Wang.
And also, speaking of, I was about to say, speaking of other players that are good at speed and more high AR stuff like this, we've got Monk coming in for his, I believe, his
third map of the tournament.
Yeah. So he's in.
Amani, the 3-mod high AR legend, should be fine with the 10.3 here. Of course, who's the third going to be for Australia?
So I mean, I think it's gonna have to be Sayo or Byujin, whoever is feeling the best on this. And unironically, I do think this is the kind of map I expect to see Monk the Dawn on, even if all of the players were available. So yeah, I think on the side of Australia, we're not going to see a bad roster. Might have normally seen Dummy on a map like this, but we'll have to make do with what they have.
And this map is just like you're saying, it's just very like technically demanding in many ways, between having that kind of awkward finger control, having some aim requirement in a more micro sense, having the high AR, a little bit of stamina even. There are some streams thrown at you, so there's a lot to deal with here. Very intrigued to see what players will have the best time of things.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the kind of map. Also being, 2 minutes 40, which is on the longer side for some of the DT maps. This is the kind of map we might see a carry performance. If you can FC this, I think you're going to do a very big job for your team.
If you FC this and your team doesn't win this pick, oh man, I would feel so sad for a team getting an FC on this and losing it, because I don't think we're going to see that many FCs on this pick. But players out here trying to prove me wrong. We'll see what they can do as we get underway in early breaks from Kevin and from Amani right at the beginning.
And it's 70% for Australia right now. I'm just not quite ready for that intro. I'm not too sure, but hopefully, yeah, start to warm up to it a bit now. Here we go. Already back over 90 almost. They do find 2 more breaks though, and it's just Byujin who's and he's gone. So it's the 3-way for China, and Australia unable to hold a combo in the early sections of the map. This is already looking over.
Yeah, this looks pretty grim. Although there are a couple breaks, Jack Wang and Milk Tea both missed, so it's Crystal with the FC against Vivace has 330 combo. Nobody else doing super great, but it's a bright spot in the darkness for Australia. That was the start of this map for them. What is the 300k lead?
It's not completely out of the question, but it's almost there. But we still have more than half the map to go, so it's possible for Australia if they can start to hold on to some huge combos, but that's not going to help them. Byujin finding a miss, but thankfully for them, he was by far the smallest combo. But that one from Monk is not going to do them any favors, as it's just Vivace now up against, I believe, 2 big combos for China. 3.
Really
even.
3, yeah.
So,
they're all on pretty solid combo, yeah. There's very little hope, even only halfway through, I think, at this point for Australia, just because they are not getting the backing combos for Vivace that they would need to try to make a comeback. And even then, it would require China to break on basically everyone. So,
and just this accuracy as well. Like, the difference on the accuracy is just 9 day as well. It's like 5% for each player here difference.
Yep, 5% at the best. There is a break from Jack Wang. Doesn't really matter. This was just a good China pick, I think, is basically all you can say. This was just a pick that, with the players that Australia has and the players that China have, it was just never going to go well for Australia, I don't think, and it's unfortunately going according to plan for China. If you are an Australia hopeful, unfortunately. Fortunately, if you're a China hopeful.
Yeah, and I think silver lining for Australia here is, even if they had Dummy for this pick, which he probably would have been in over Byujin there, they still would have lost this even if he SS'd the map. So it's fine.
Yeah. Nuts FC from Crystal. Jesus, that is one of the more impressive maps.
I didn't realize that was an
that's
FC, because that's not normal. Okay, so we are gonna get at least it's gonna be at least one FC here.
That's
that is
real.
very well done from China.
Crystal. Shimmers of Crystal from OWC. I think we've lost Tig. He's
he's in the shadow realm.
he's just been
and he's
annihilated.
Back.
He's gone. He's back.
My Discord just restarted itself. Welcome back.
Oh, good. Auto update, right?
Awesome. I've been having issues. Anyway.
Well,
one consolidated breakpoint.
Yeah, I think Australia at this point, I don't know if you go into DT after that DT4. You could just stay on the Hard Rock and hope for they go for a Hard Rock. I expected Hard Rock 1 more than Hard Rock 2, but you can also go Hard Rock 2, the tech alt Hard Rock. And I think considering some of the scores Australia put up last week with Sayo and Arbusion playing very well on a similar type of map, could see definitely you could see Australia winning this pick.
This was another map slot where these two teams were really closely matched last week. Australia got 2.35 million on the Hard Rock 2 last week, and China got 2.49 million. So really a situation where it feels like anything goes. So like anything could happen depending on just the day and who's performing best. I like the continued Hard Rock picks. You know, Australia kind of trying to stick with their guns.
Yeah, I think they essentially have the majority of their Hard Rock roster, and I think in some of these cases you might see Jordan the Bear coming in, but I think these four players, Sayo, Vivace, Arbusion, and Jordan the Bear, can all play Hard Rock at a pretty solid level. So they're not really missing, missing a very crucial player. So I think this is, just gonna come, as you said, it's gonna come down to who's feeling the best on this skill right now. I think Australia had a surprise for China with that first pick Hard Rock 3, but China, I think, has found their footing on that Fremont 3. So we'll see how they do here.
I think this was a pretty good pick as well, because obviously we saw Australia win quite convincingly on that Hard Rock 3, but then on the free mod kind of fumbled a bit. But the difference on that free mod was only the difference of like the no mod score on China was just so damn strong that it's like, now let's force them back onto triple Hard Rock where we looked better and, you know, take our chances at that. So I think it's a good pick from them going into staying in this Hard Rock pool, especially with the players they have available, all very strong Hard Rock players. So stick to your guns and see how it goes. There's potential here for a 3-2, which all of a sudden isn't looking too grim for Australia, but they're going to have to convert this one.
Yeah, it starts to feel a little bit like a must-win here if you're Australia. Going down 4-1 double break point would obviously be suboptimal, to say the least. So this is a high-pressure scenario for Australia, and they're making the most of it. They got a little bit of a lead here in combo with a couple early breaks coming in from Kurumi and from David. And I was going to mention that this is a very different map than either the Hard Rock 3 or the Fremod 3. More that kind of alt-tech vibe, whereas the others are a little streamier, but so far so good for Australia. Switching up the kind of skill set in the Hard Rock pool required, is that is all players in China having reset, and still an FC on Sayo, and still Vivace doing quite well at a 500 combo.
These patterns are evil, and oh my god, Vivace actually misses on nothing. Actually, after hitting all of those brutal patterns, he finds a miss on nothing after hitting every single one of those weird velocity, like scaling sliders. Finds a miss on nothing at the end of the Ki, but it's still Sayo with an FC for Australia at the halfway point and a little bit of a 3 combo in tow. Arbusion building up that supporting combo, pretty much matching Milk Tea here, so it's going to be all on Kurumi for any hopes of another break point. But Sayo, the world on his shoulders in this last third of the map going into the next Ki, is going to have to hold on for just a bit longer.
I cannot stop being impressed by Sayo at every turn, man. He has been playing so well over the course of this tournament. And once again here, showing up to carry Australia to 100,000, almost 200,000 point lead now in this pick. Very, very impressive performer. There are big combos getting built up. Like you mentioned, he needs to continue holding on a little bit longer because this won't be over until it's over, with a full quarter of the map still to come. No. And breaks from Vivace and Arbusion. This is so much pressure on Sayo with 3 combos from China, but he looks to be up to the task. He is holding on like it's nothing.
Oh
no! The slider tick! The slider tick, he
over-aimed
it! Oh, that's the most tragic miss you could have on this map.
Okay.
It's Kurumi.
It's Milk Tea. Milk Tea and David both broke, so and now it's okay. All right.
Slider tick.
He missed on the slider tick.
Everyone is troll face right now. Everyone is troll facing in the lobby. Everyone just misses the slider ticks, and Australia taken away by 30k. Oh, wow. Bless Sayo. Everyone.
Oh man.
Rage for Sayo, dude.
Sayo with
TFs,
the
dude. Honestly, TFs. The slider ticks, man. The slider ticks.
Dude, look at that score, though. 765k, man. Next best score in the lobby, the 587 from Kurumi. That is a very, very impressive score from the newcomer. And Australia, like you said, they're making it interesting. They're keeping it close.
It's the accuracy from Sayo, too. He looks so good on these Hard Rocks, man. he's consistently out-acking like every player in these lobbies on these Hard Rock maps. He just does. He's just so good. He's that one player where like I would always see him country 1 on like every map for Hidden Hard Rock. And I was like, dude, who is this guy? Like I've never seen him. Like I just don't know what he does. He doesn't talk to anyone in the community. And he's just a demon. He just Hidden Hard Rock FCs everything. And then he comes into a tourney out of nowhere and he just shreds and he just does this.
But China picking the DT2, which is probably their most logical pick after the DT4. This is, you know, in that stamina slot, has the stamina BPM at 234, but it has a bit of a few interesting patterns. The intro is more like a Nomad 6 than anything, and it has a few interesting rhythm sections in between the stamina and the finger controls. So a bit of a mixed bag, this one.
Yeah, this map kind of feels like it's here to replace the fact that there's not a normal Nomad 5 or Nomad 6 in the Nomad pool by bringing in both the speed and some of the rhythm changing kind of finger control aspects. But like you said, I think China likes this a lot after seeing what happened on DT4.
Yeah, and we're going to see Monk the Dawn coming back in, I think being the replacement for Dummy in this match as the tapping DT player. And the Lolols on the side of China for Rumi, Milk Tea, and David Q.
It's the triple Lolol squad for the Chinese team. Just to confuse everyone to the max.
In full force. I've got like a little sticky note, like the sticky note program on my second monitor just with their names. I just can't do this. The worst thing was I was dreading it, and then I have to cast Indonesia first match, and they just all change their names as well, which is just awesome.
Indonesia's worse though because they're just VTubers.
Yeah.
Well, as we get into it, China on the 3-way breaks from Vivace and Monk the Dawn in the early stages. Arbusion holding. But there's only so much one player can do. Also, Milk Tea 99 AC until hitting a couple 100s in the last pattern. That was very impressive.
I mean, China just looking way too good on these DTs, man. Up against a country that's usually feared on DT maps, just unfortunately don't really have their star DT player here today in being Dummy. And Monk finds another break. Still the FC from Arbusion and a huge combo from Vivace, so it's not completely out of the question yet as we are at the halfway break, but we're going to have to see a 2-way reset at the very least for China here. Possibly even a 3-way reset if they hold onto those combos any longer.
Yeah, it's just starting to get into that territory where it's a few 100,000 points, and if you're Australia, you need a lot of help from the other team if you want to try to make a comeback. Vache and Arbusion both putting up very solid performances here. I'm really impressed by what Arbusion is doing here, and there's a break from Milk Tea. Still 2 FCs, though, on Kurumi and on David. And that's a tough one to try to combat. They're so strong.
It's in reach, but yeah, like you said, China needs to help out Australia here. It needs to be soon, and we're approaching the last 1/8 of the map, really, and that's not what they need as a break from Monk. It is not going to be the important combo, but there go Arbusion and Vivace. Double reset of the ending. Not that it would have mattered. China close it out with the double FC? Question mark?
Let's see. Into the ending they come with Kurumi and David holding on to the double FC. Will they finish off the last pattern? Yes, they will. Wow. All right. They made that map look a lot easier than I thought it was. That's a double FC. 96 accuracy from David. Also quite impressive. 97.6 the S rank from Milk Tea. That is remarkable. And that's just a great team performance from China.
Yeah, I mean, I think that map was hard, like you said. I definitely don't think that was an easy map by any stretch of the imagination. As you can see from the 92.8% FC coming out from Kurumi there, clearly some axe struggles, but combo games it through to the end. So well done from China there. And back to Australia now. Try and convert another point.
Yeah, David Q proving that combo reigns supreme in Osu. Now, as far as what Australia has picked and what they've looked good on, I think the only thing that's really left is likely that Hard Rock 1, which I expect them to pick. I mean, you could free mod and go for the Hard Rocks on the free mod and maybe go for that tapping speed, which actually is something Australia is pretty good on, so that's an option. However, China's also just been looking so good on the stamina and the tapping. So I'm
Yeah, I
not
think-
sure if you necessarily want to go that first.
I think China has looked too strong on the tapping maps to make Fremont 1 feel like a viable pick. I think this is either Hard Rock 1 or it just has to be something completely different. And since there isn't really anything completely different that they feel that I would expect them to feel comfortable with, I kind of think
I think JTV is busy right now, unfortunately. Otherwise,
at the casino.
at the casino. But like normally he'd be here, but he has better things to do, unfortunately, right now.
by 10k. And yeah, the 730k from Crystal was just unanswered from Australia as well. So may have been able to answer Milk Tea's combo there and get a 1 mil himself, but would not have been enough for them just because of that huge supporting score from Crystal. And now 5-2 with a break point and China with another pick in tow and DT's still available. It's not looking too good for Australia to get another point on the board here, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not sure what you pick if you're Australia, even if you do take this break point. And on the side of China, I think that
They won Hard Rock 1 pretty comprehensively, so I guess I can see why you would want to go into more aim.
and aim this is just non-stop, very, very space jumps. Kind of feels like a Grand Senpai map, if you're familiar with his mapping style. Very, very, very difficult for Mod 1. I think maybe mechanically the hardest map in this pool. If you FC this, you're actually a monster.
Yeah, this is some serious aim. Like, this is real adult aim. This isn't like the kiddie aim you see in earlier rounds anymore.
This is big boy aim.
This is big boy aim. Monk the Dawn, Amani aim.
Man.
Amani
Oh my god.
aim.
Not
All
again. Aware.
What's he getting? What's he getting, boys?
Well, he got 400k on the first round, no Mod 1. So, you know, it's not the best precedent, but maybe he's feeling good. I unironically think a 400k on this map is like good, because getting a big combo and keeping it on 3 minutes of just non-stop big aim is very, very difficult.
Where is Jordan when you need him? Because he's going to be upset that he's missed a Hard Rock 1 and an OMOD 1 here. Back to back. But yeah, it's going to be Monk coming in for Australia instead. I love that we see Sayo in here, of course. No reason not to have this guy in. He should be in for every map. And Bache finding an early miss. Yeah, this map looks brutal, man. This is just constant aim. It's not like those old No Mod 1s where you get 5-star patterns into a 7-star KI. No, this map is actually just 7 stars all the way through.
Yeah, this actually almost feels understarred at 7 stars flat. This almost feels like it's underrated because it's just non-stop screen jumps, and it is Crystal versus Sayo. That's it. There's no one else with combo at all.
Oh my!
Which
is there anything Sayo can't do?
I mean, he looked good on the last pick, so not surprising to see him continuing. Oh my! Okay, he's the only FC. Sayo 1v1 versus the world. Honestly, it's not even 1v3. It's like freaking 1v11.
This is 1v5 right now from Sayo. See now, like I want to say, oh, some free combo here, but no free combo at all.
There is no free combo, yeah.
Oh my god, almost overshoots Sayo one here. How much copium do we have to huff to
I am on the copium.
No, there he goes.
Not enough, dude.
Not enough copium right at the halfway point.
Oh no. China have combos are just outdoing all of Australia's right now. Some
not a
small
big
combos for
lead.
Australia, but
It's not a big lead.
Oh,
There's There's more than enough time. China just needs to, have a couple breaks here and there.
But all of Australia's gone after that.
Shush. I'm on my copium right now. There's like
I'm
half the map
out.
still
I've
to
run
go.
out. I need some spare copium from you. I've run out.
Nope, Silent breaks again.
Man.
It's over. It's done. I'm sorry. We tried. We tried, Australia. We wanted to gas you guys up, but China's just too strong, man. Crystal and Moti looking very well. Okay, Crystal looking very good.
And I wanted the Cinderella story there of Sayo to just FC this map and everyone to just be in awe, but it's not going to happen. As Crystal pulls in a huge combo early on in the map, and he just is doing it again, which is just really impressive, especially with that accuracy. I mean, this guy just looks way too strong on a map like this. Crystal seeing some glimmers of what he was in those OWC matches, just performing out of his mind and showing himself again here on a map like this. 600k is incredible, man. Like you're probably used to seeing 400k averages on a map like this.
Yeah, you really need to be a name specialist to perform well on that, but Crystal, who just does everything, saying, I can do it all. I can carry the team, and he does so. 624k, China, 6-2. That's the final score. And honestly, shout out to Australia for getting 2 points, considering the situation. But China just looked solid, basically across the board.
Yeah, considering what Australia had to deal with, I think 2 points is fair, especially against such a strong team like China. But China, especially on those DTs, some of those maps, they had just extremely dominant performances. I think especially like the Crystal FC on the DT4 is absolutely insane. And on the DT2 with almost essentially a two-way. Actually, no, it is a two-way from David Q and Karumi. Just very, very strong performances from China. Very well played to both teams.
China did look awesome today on these DTs. I think that's definitely a scary prospect for anyone going up against them in future rounds. And yeah, I mean, you're going to be scared of DT against this team. They're not a team that, when you think of China just as a roster, whether it's OWC, 3WC, 4WC, you usually don't think like speed. Like that's not the first thing I think. But you look at this team today and just their form on it, like how damn good their scores are on those maps, at least in comparison to the other maps that were picked in this match. Their team score on the DTs was just so much higher. They looked so damn good on DT. I don't know, man. They just looked unstoppable on it.
And they're going to get the winner of Germany versus Ukraine for their next match tomorrow. So that could be a very contested speed matchup against either of those teams, because especially Germany, right, historically has always been a really strong team on the speed. So I'm excited to see what happens in that one. If China can keep up their current form, I think they can definitely give either of those teams a run for their money. I think they'll be the favorite outright against Ukraine, and I think they'll put a solid showing in against Germany. I think that one could go either way. So should be exciting when you see a team on this kind of level to see what they're capable of in the next match.